Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz Interview Series with very talented Canadian jazz trumpeter, pianist, and drummer Brad Turner. Over the course of our conversation, this versatile and very in-demand cat talks about his unique jazz story, from the humble beginnings to a host of awards, along with gigging with luminaries like Joe Lovano, Kenny Wheeler, John Scofield, Kenny Werner, and the great Ernie Watts. We cover some good ground in this conversation, so please dig this interview, my friends.
First of all, thank you for taking some time to talk with me. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
I want to find out what's been going on lately.
Okay, well, obviously I'm Canadian, but I did go to school in the U.S. My undergrad in Washington State at Western Washington, and then I went to North Texas to do my master's degree, and I made a lot of connections when I was a student down there, which I still retain and enjoy. But I moved back to Vancouver in '92, and just mainly because my family's all up here, and I kind of wanted to be around them at least for a little while before I decided what I was going to do. I ended up staying here, and since that time, I teach at a university here, Capilano University, in the jazz studies program there, just half-time, but mainly I play. And I've played, with all sorts of folks through the years. I've been lucky to have recorded with, say, John Scofield. I recorded with him, did a concert last year with Bill Frisell. So being in Vancouver hasn't necessarily limited my reach, I guess, if you will. So I've managed to, and been very fortunate to be able to play with lots of great players, and also my ties with longtime friends from school days, who've moved to all ports here and there. That sort of has created a big network for me, and I enjoy that still too. So, so through the years up here in Canada, our Grammys are known as Junos, and I've been able to win 2 of those in my career with a band called Metalwood that enjoyed some, I guess, international success. We did do a lot of touring in Europe, and we came down to the U.S. and recorded one of our records featured John Scofield and Mino Sinelu, DJ Logic, so it got kind of big. And I guess as far as sort of commercial success, that would be the biggest thing that's happened. That band is about to do another record coming up this next January, 2016. So we're looking forward to that. Most recently here, though, in town, I've maintained the same 2 groups, quartet and the trio. I play trumpet in the quartet and piano in my trio. And since the early 90s, I've been playing with these guys, and we did a record. Each band did a recording this past summer. I recorded the groups, and actually when I texted you, I was just finishing off mastering the trio record. So that's what's on my plate right now, and
cool.
Just trying to keep moving forward with things, here in lovely Vancouver.
Right on. So tell me, as a man that's dedicated himself to the jazz craft, was there a particular album or there a particular artist that has influenced you quite a bit?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to say that what really got me, I was already playing trumpet when I was a little kid because my granddad did, and I was playing in band at school, but really didn't know anything about jazz or music in general. Somebody played for me recorded the Miles recording of My Funny Valentine.
Yeah.
Him playing that, and I knew the song My Funny Valentine from I think my parents had lots of records with show tunes and things on them, so I'd hear songs and I kind of, for whatever reason, remembered them, and I recognized the song at first, but then it very quickly went off into regions beyond, and that really got me going. I wanted to do something like that on my trumpet. That's all I knew. I didn't know that was jazz. I didn't know who Miles Davis was at the time, but the music just flipped a switch in my little head, and I just wanted to try and be creative on the trumpet. That was my main goal. And piano sort of followed along. I was always a piano player. I took lessons on that before I did trumpet, so it just sort of went without saying that I played the piano. on that instrument, probably the record that really opened my eyes to jazz piano was the Oscar Peterson Trio Night Train record.
Yeah.
Just I don't know, everything about it. You know, I just loved it. It grooved so hard and it was so slick sounding, and but at the same time technical. Like Oscar's piano playing, obviously, just through the roof that way. So that record really sort of sparked a fire in that direction. And the two instruments, they kind of have coexisted, but they've taken divergent paths. And I've really worked hard to, you know, get to the point where when people hear me play the trumpet, they had no idea I'd play the piano, and vice versa. When I'm playing the piano, they're not thinking, oh well, he's really a trumpet player. You know, they're quite different, and I'm really pleased that my parents encouraged me when I was a kid to take lessons on more than one instrument, because it's really paid off, not just financially, well, hardly financially, but you know, artistically and personally, it's just been excellent. You know, I can get into all sorts of different situations, you know, with different types of musicians, and you know, function and get something from it. And so, yeah, I'm pretty lucky that way.
So, when you were a kid, did you always want to grow up and be a musician?
Well, I mean, I grew up in you call it a musical family. I'm third generation. My grandfather was one of the first music educators in our province, you know, in the high school system. My dad followed in his footsteps. They also both were performers, and I think I was the first one to sort of go off into just music performance, you know, to be a professional player. I just sort of walked right through school into it. You know, I was always involved with music, and it was like breathing to me. You know, I've been to, you know, sports too. I played a lot of soccer. I played lacrosse, which might sound a little weird for a kid who was taking classical piano lessons, but apparently that was okay with my dad because he played lacrosse too. So
cool.
Yeah, but you know, I just always was involved with music, and it just seemed like the natural next step.
Yeah.
You know, each step of the way, you know, when it came to where am I going to go to school, what am I going to do, I went for music, and then after that, coming home, and you know, it's just been a natural progression that way.
Tell me, what's the greatest thing about waking up every day?
Okay, well, there's a number of ways I could answer that question, but the greatest thing about waking up, and you know, I haven't always felt this way, but I just am really grateful that I can make music. And that might sound really trite, but you know, I've gotten to a point where, you know, I accept the fact that chances are I'm not going to make a huge amount of money, and chances are, you know, I'm not going to see certain things in my career that other people maybe see, but I got this, you know.
Yeah.
And it's pretty neat. And, you know, the job that I have teaching up at Capilano is an excellent job, you know, and I get to direct an ensemble and work with small groups and talk about, you know, just the craft and the art of what it is I do. It's directly related to my performing career. So, you know, I think if you're not careful, that can easily flip to the cup half empty rather than half full. But and I think that happens for a lot of people. But I get up in the morning like I did this morning, came outside and my coffee, and then went back in and sat at the recording, and so it was pretty cool. You know, I did this myself essentially, and you know, this is what I do is who I am. And that's kind of a cool feeling.
No, that's cool, man. That's totally cool. Let me ask you this. If we hook up in 10 years and talk, and I ask you what's been going on lately, what are you going to want to tell me has happened over, let's say even 20 years? What are you going to be happy to tell me happened?
Well, geez, I hope it's really similar to what I told you today. You know,
yeah.
I look at my career, you know, each time I step on stage to play, I want to try to get a little bit further in a forward direction, whatever that may be. You know, if that means technically I play a little bit better, or I've got a new grasp on some harmony, or I just express myself, whatever it might be. So, or composing. So in 20 years, if you ask me, you know, the same sort of stuff, I hope, if I'm lucky, that it would be similar things, you know.
Yeah.
I've worked on a new record, and if I can still stand up, I've been writing tunes. I've been working with some younger players. That would be great if it was similar.
Perfect. Hey, man, thank you, Brad, for taking some time to talk with me.
That's great, man. I sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to yet another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Canada, the United States, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Brad for his music and his vision. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store, or visit theneonjazz.blogspot.com for all things Neon Jazz. Until next time, enjoy the music, my friends.
Neon Jazz.